Hi, so welcome to the fan book. I'd like to welcome Rian, who's our fan for this book pick. Uh, Hi, Rian. Why don't you tell us what book you picked, and we can go from there. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is so fun. I'm so happy to be here. Even though I have a very bad cold right now, so ignore me if I cough or do random sounds. I apologize to everyone listening. Um, so I picked The Deep by River Solomon, and I alluded a little bit to this in the book report, which you'll probably hear later. But
Yeah.
I picked The Deep because I tend to be drawn towards books that have feminist and queer theories in them, and books that are fantastical or have some kind of otherworldly ideas in them. Um, and I'm not always drawn to science fiction, but this one was just too good to pass up. So, yeah, I found this book because I listened to the Clipping musical piece, which is where the idea of this book grew from. We can talk about that later. But and then I listened to that and thought, oh, I have to read this book. The book is amazing. So yeah, that's why I picked it because it's just so deeply embedded in feminism and also just thinking with histories. And so yeah, it's just totally my thing.
I'd like Rian to talk a bit about, you said we'll get back to it, but I'd love you to go into a bit more detail about how this book came about because I think that is a really interesting,
Yeah,
creative idea. So I
yeah,
don't know if you'd like touch on that.
yeah. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah,
Sure.
please.
So I'm it's been a while since I've looked at where it came from, but if you can find where the original idea for the story of the Wajinru came from. I don't know if they're called the Wajinru in the clipping piece, but this idea of the unborn children of slave mothers who were thrown overboard during the transatlantic voyage, pregnant mothers, because they weren't worth the resources. And it's a pretty commonly known thing that has happened, I think, if you read any history about the transatlantic slave trade. So Drexia is like I don't know if they're hip hop, I don't know if they're like house band, but they do a lot of music and they created this and crafted this sort of world. And I haven't actually listened to that piece in a while, so I don't want to speak to that piece. But the clipping took that idea and created a song from it. One of the artists in clipping reads the audiobook for this for the
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, so it's not River Solomon that reads the audiobook. It's I can't remember his name, but David,
David
David,
something, right?
yeah, yeah,
David. My
David
son's named David too.
Big, David Big,
So
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and so he reads the audiobook, which is amazing because and there's a piece in the audiobook at the end where he talks about where the histories of this story came from. So I find it so interesting because it's not only is the book itself about thinking with the histories, the painful histories and memories of uh, where they came from, but also the story itself has histories and a flow through different mediums and through different ways. So I this book to me is just and it's a novella, it's not a full novel. So it's a bit of a shorter book, but it just kind of grew out of something really small and then it just kind of keeps going. And so yeah, I think it's so fascinating to me. I think as a musician, I was really drawn to that because art often grows out of other art pieces and out of other people's work. We often work off other people's work. Yeah.
Oh, and
What
that's
what actually that goes along with one of the quotes I wrote down from the book because it's like
Yeah.
not just the art, but at the end after she's shared the history amongst all the people, the her mother or their
Yeah.
mother, whatever you want to go, uh, was interpreted the history different than she did.
Yeah.
And so it also shows that the who you are is part of the history as well, and how you interpret the history can change us from individuals, which is why it's nice that it's shared rather than just one person, because she just having one person interpret the history, there's something lost. And so it that also gets is in the story as well, that the history got built onto because depending on who was experiencing it or remembering it as well.
Yeah,
Said what had seemed certain to yet to wasn't so immutable. The living put their own mark on the dead. How had she missed it? That's
Mhm,
screwed up.
mhm.
It's what
Anyway,
you're saying though. Is that like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it carries through, right? And it changes. Like memories and histories change and flow. Like for me, I was telling Sarah, and I think I wrote that in the book report, that when I read this book, I read it shortly after my brother had died. Meredith, you remember that? That was chaos time in my life. And I was kind of co-parenting his four children, and especially the younger two. A lot of what I did was sitting with them and just telling them stories and memories of Daddy and what he was like. And they still ask, like they're not 2 and 4 anymore. They're 6 and 8. I know, right? They grow so big and so fast. And and then the older ones are like older teenagers, but the younger ones still ask me if they're having a sleepover at bedtime. They're like, tell us the story, tell us about Daddy, tell us what he was like, tell us what he did, tell us, even though it's a painful thing sometimes to sit there and reflect on for them, because they often say, oh, I really miss Daddy. I never got to know that about him. I think it's so good to hear those histories, but I put my own reflection on it. So I always tell them, like, you can ask your aunties and uncles and aunties like what they remember as well, because we all put our sort of spin on our history and our memories. But I think for me, that idea of carrying pain through memory and remembrances is like that's what draws me to this book so much, especially because I was processing so much grief and still process grief when I read this book. I think because this book talks so much about the pain of remembering, and often when you're going through loss, it's really beautiful, but also extremely painful to sit and think about the person or what you've lost. In that moment, this book for me was just that yeah, like this is painful but also beautiful, and something new comes from this. So yeah, so interesting to think of it that way.
that was lovely. You made me
yeah.
think higher
And
of the
yeah.
of the yeah, I think it's different. It depends. I've always said this, that books depend on where you are in your life and how you interpret it and read it. And some books you read in certain times of your life and you're like, I can't read this. You put it
Yeah,
down. Then at
yeah.
another time you're like, oh my God, that was the most moving, important book in my life. So it sounds like this book was a came at the time that you needed it. And I love that about books in general. We've talked about that before too, that,
Yeah.
sometimes it's, I think we all love reading books, but specifically
Hmm.
too, because they just come to you at the time that it feels like the right time. It helps you heal or helps you laugh when you need it or whatever. So that's so nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true, right? Like even this summer, like I read some books that were very much aligned with where I'm at right now. So it's so
Yeah.
cool. I love that books do that for us. So amazing.
Hmm.
And then when you return to them, if you read them a second time or a third time, different things come forward, which is so interesting. That's what I found about this book, because I read it originally 3 years ago, and I really aligned with those ideas of that the pain in those memories. But this time when I read it, especially the first whole section of her carrying so much weight and having all of those memories placed on her and being picked at a really young age to be I forget the title she carries, but
Historian?
the
Historian?
yeah, she's the yeah, historian, that's right. Yeah. She's the historian, and she has to carry those memories, and she has to that's her life now. Like there's no other life. Because I grew up in a fairly high pressure household where, as the oldest child, myself and my brother actually who passed away, who died, he and I felt that pressure. Our younger two siblings not so much. But this time around when I read it, what really stood out to me was that that pressure that she feels. Not so much the grief and the pain and the memories, but so much more the pressure, because I'm in a completely different space 2 years later. So it was, yeah, it's so cool that you said that, Lindsay. That's something that I find about books like this that have a lot of richness to them, that they bring forward different things at different times. When you reread them, something completely different stands out for you.
Yeah, for me, it was more about like belonging.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like for that's what it
yeah,
felt like for me. But maybe because when I read this book, I was away from home, staying in someone else's life, but like at my mother's house, so like I belonged there, but this feeling of being away and stuff, so that's kind of more that's the theme that got me, was the feeling of belonging and knowing who you are and what your histories are and culture and what feels like home and that kind of thing. But at the same time, I just want to put it out there. It was not one of those, like, so it's a novella and you think you're going to read it fast. I
yeah.
did not find that at all. Not at
No,
all. It took me forever to read this book. I'd read a little bit and put it down, and like days would go by before I pick it back up again. Like it
yeah,
wasn't one of those books where you're like can't wait to get like see what happens. Like it's not, that's not the book. It's
Oh, I
not that
had
book
the
at all.
opposite experience.
Really? No.
I was just
It was
like, because
very slow
I
for me.
was again visiting mom and everybody. Like I'd gone on this big long road trip. I've gone on a road trip across the country to go visit, and it was like my life was just like go, go, go. There was like not a lot of time for just doing stuff for me because I was visiting people, and
Mhm.
then my husband wasn't there for part of it, so like I was the main parent and stuff, and I was just like just dying to just be able to sit for 5 minutes and read, and I just couldn't get back to it because I was either driving or visiting or whatever. And I think I did end up reading it. We rented a like a cabin, as they say in BC, and in Ontario they say cottage.
yeah.
Um, and I got an opportunity to actually read the book, and I read it like almost the entire book in a couple days. Well, because it was also
Oh,
short.
man. Yeah.
I
No,
listened to
me.
the audiobook with my partner. We were driving to Montreal. Um, and Rian, you don't know this about me, but this would be the second audiobook I've ever listened to in my life.
Yeah.
The first one was also for Book Interrupted because I was trying to
Okay.
fit it in. I have a quite busy life, so we were trying to fit it in. We listened to it. I made him listen to the other one on the way to and from Montreal. His family lives in, or his mom lives in Montreal, so we were doing that. But I'm still struggling with the audiobook thing, and I know that the narrator is part of the, I guess he
Mhm.
was one of the singers. He's also an actor, a pretty
Yeah,
famous actor.
yeah.
Um, but it really bothered me that he was a male voice telling the story. So the whole way, it just like I felt like it was like an outsider telling the story of what Yetu, that's her name, that
Yeah,
Yeah,
um
too. Yeah.
yeah, and so it felt so disjointed to me.
yeah,
Like I didn't really get as much out of it as you guys did. I feel like it just always just felt like it was like a someone telling a story from afar instead of it felt like it should have been really personal. So it just, but it may just be me and the audiobook thing, but I just really didn't like the male voice telling the story. So sorry.
The
I think I
narrator
made,
sometimes ruins the book for me too. Like
yeah.
depending on who, I'm like that's not the voice I would have chosen. And it doesn't necessarily mean the person doing the audiobook is doing a bad job. It's just they're not in line with how my mind would have made that
Yeah.
person's
And I
sound.
think it's like I'm sure that the book when you read it makes a lot more sense. And maybe because the like flipping of different characters and stuff, but when
mhm,
he read it, he kind of just read it straight through. And so you'd be partway through a chapter or something and be like, "Oh, we're talking about someone completely
Is
different."
this a different historian?
Yes,
And the
is this a
answer is yes. You're
different
like, why is
per
this historian so different all of a sudden?
right, but
He's a
but
different
the
guy.
way he did it was kind of this, I don't know, I found the same. So I would get very confused. We would be like, "Who are we talking about now?" And then finally you'd be like, "Oh, okay, this is somebody different or this is a different story or we're on a different idea." So I think that if, I would have been better off to read it as a book than listen to it in my mind. But you did listen to it, right, Rian?
I've done both. So I have a hard copy of it, but when I first read it as an audiobook,
Yeah.
and then this time
And
around I did both. Yeah, I actually, it's funny because I actually felt a similar reaction to you. I was like, this should be a female voice. Like I have a trans kid, and so I also recognize
Mhm.
that sometimes the voice is like not where the
Yeah.
person is at. So I'm like, I just think of that person as uh, a Wajir, right? So I read it as though the person reading it was telling the story as a history as well. And it felt a little bit more comfortable. And I got like, I think the thing with audiobooks is like, it takes me a lot longer to get into them because there's an interpretation. And I read a lot of
Yeah.
audiobooks, like a lot, because I'm just so busy. Like I work so much.
So
Um,
much.
so much. And actually, Meredith, I have another contract position I picked up with ECEBC. So now just
Sometimes my husband and I
80
talk
hours
about
a
how
week of
much you
work.
work. I'm like, she's just so busy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, we're gonna try to
So,
have her over for dinner.
right. So audiobooks are like my go-to lately because they're so good. But sometimes you start them and you're like, I can't, this is insane. Like I can't even, it's just background hum. So I really had, but this one I actually didn't listen to it while doing other things. Usually I listen to audiobooks while I'm doing a bunch of other things. But this one, I think originally, because I listened to it as an audiobook when I was like, it was only a couple months out from when my brother had died. So I could barely function at that time. Like I was just sit and listen to the book was what I could do. So I was really able to follow it. And I kind of just picked it as like someone telling the story, Wujinru telling the story. But yeah, I think because I think with queer theories a lot, that concept of the voice sounding mask didn't really bother me as much. But that's also my experience. If you don't have a lot of experience with different kinds of voices in different genders, then it can be alarming to hear a masculine voice reading a because it is a very female feeling story, right? Or
Mhm.
like women,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
not female, but
Oh,
women's story,
see.
right? Like,
Hmm.
right? It really feels like it has that, especially the pieces about like the mothers falling into the water and then the first mothers and the whales as the second mothers, right? And coming forward and raising the babies and they become the Wajinur. Like that feels extremely feminine, right? Extremely. Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it's tricky because you can have people who are masked that have feminine experiences, but it feels very like a feminine experience. So I think for this book, for me, like, yeah, I don't disagree with that. Um, and there was a few pieces of it too that I read that like I do this with every book. I love books and I'm like such a good book. And then I like pick them all apart and I'm like, yeah, but this could have been edited and this could have been doing. So like I totally agree. I think because in my head I like put that aside because the story itself was worth so much to me in that moment. Um, I can do that sometimes. I can put aside a piece of the art and think of another piece of the art. Um, yeah, I don't know if that's just my brain, but so I often do that with audiobooks. I have to be like, I don't like the author, but I'm going to look at this as valuable because of the artist, and this is the only format I can process this in right now is an audiobook. So they're so tricky. Like yeah,
Indeed.
it can be
Yeah,
ruined.
I
No,
don't
they
know how
are.
many more audiobooks I'll be listening to
Listen
if
to
I'm
the
not
Like I
forced
just say that
to.
might be it for her.
I
The
am like
Chronicles of
I like the
Narnia.
paper. I don't even like a computer screen. Like I like a
Mm.
book
Yeah,
in my
yeah,
hand. I
yeah.
want to be cozy with my tea and my blanket on like a comfy couch or in my bed. Like I don't know. It just feels maybe. You never know. Maybe we will. Maybe driving to Montreal. It did pass the time much faster. So that was good. Like we were engaged. So, but
Hmm.
I wish I'd read this book because I just didn't get enough out of it listening.
Book interrupted. And I have one more good interruption I forgot to mention. This is my engagement ring with a ring that I got from my mother-in-law, which happens to fit perfectly together. Must be meant to be. Book interrupted.
So Ashley was trying to make it on, but she has some technical difficulties. If she didn't get on, was that she found that this book was very similar to The Giver, like how the historian
Yeah.
was taking all the memories and the giver, the little kid takes all the memories and that kind of thing. What do you guys think about that? I didn't even think about that.
I bet there's probably
I was
like
reading it.
lots of stories that kind of grapple with this idea of the individual versus like the group, and also the longer history of the group. It'd be interesting to make a list of books that are this same story, because there's some people who are going to be affected by the history of their family more than others. Like there's I think maybe does every family, maybe not every family, but lots of families have somebody who's kind of the one who keeps track of the history of where we came from and stuff. So, and then there's some people who just like go about their life without thinking that the past affected them at all, and they're just happy-go-lucky. You're like, why do you get to be happy-go-lucky and I'm tortured by the past? Like I think it's probably like a very common theme, because there are people who just can't help but be like, don't you see that this important thing? Why doesn't this give you existential like depression? This thing that is happening, and some people are just going about their life like everything is sunshine and roses. But I agree that it is very similar to The Giver, and I guess in that one the guy actually just does escape, whereas this one she realized that that kind of history is important. There's just because you're suffering for the richest to exist, maybe there also needs to be a little bit of suffering to be able to experience the richness of life and all that stuff, which sucks, I guess. But you can't experience true happiness if you haven't also known what the opposite is, I suppose.
And sharing that in a collective, right? Because that's what ends up happening at the end of this book.
But that's what I think is interesting. So that's another part of the book that I thought was interesting, is that once a year she had to give them the history, or they felt like empty. Like they were desperate for it, and she was pushing it off, and they're like, we need you to fill us, even just for a moment, with all of the feelings, bad, good, all the memories, so that we have something, and then we can forget about it again for a year. So I thought that was interesting, that they couldn't actually live without having some of it. You know what I mean? They suffered not they had this empty feeling without knowing their own history. So I thought I like that part, because I think that's true. I think you feel this void if you had nothing.
Yeah,
so I like that
and then
part.
you just fill it with stuff, and that's what
maybe
we call consumerism. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
And then people
No,
binge watch
stuff.
Netflix. Well, no, but that's what.
How am I going to fill this empty hole in my heart? I don't know. Put some stuff in there that I don't need.
Buy things. That's what people do.
It's true.
I know, it's horrible.
Sense of
They're just
purpose
numbing
is
themselves.
important.
Yeah.
Although Sarah never buys anything. She had when I went to visit, she had a rag that she'd used forever. It was had holes in it.
Rags are supposed to be raggy looking, aren't
No,
they?
it was her tea towel. It was
I
actually
bought-
falling apart.
This is not my tea
After
rag.
you left, I did buy 2 new tea towels. But it takes me a
Okay.
long time. I don't want to replace things for the sake of replacing them. If it's kind of working, although those were pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like they needed to be sewn or something. They were like in bad shape.
I've got one that I love, but it's just so many holes now that it's like kind of just disintegrating when you use it. And I was like, Dan,
That was
maybe we
mine.
should throw this out soon. He's like, probably. I was like, I'm not ready yet. And I folded it and put it in the cupboard.
Ready yet? I'm not ready to let go.
I'm not ready to let go of this. It was a gift. I think it was a gift that was a somebody souvenir. It was made of linen. It was a lovely tea towel, great for making bread.
Oh, yeah.
Bread. That was
Yeah,
mine too.
attached.
Bread. But
Don't throw out your bread tea towels.
Sisters, Lindsay. These are the sisters.
Yeah, I know. I could tell.
What? Your holy and raggy tea towel? Of course you kept it.
Hers was really bad. I'm telling you, like, it was like each piece was about this with like a thread, and then another piece, and then a thread, and then another piece, and then a thread, and another. Like I'm telling you, it was mostly whole. Like
It's only getting
it should have been this
fancier,
big,
Lindsay.
and it was like this
We call
big.
that lace, and it's very fancy.
Both of them were like that. Both. They're a pair. They're a match. And then yeah.
That's
Anyway, I
wonderful.
got 2 new ones that actually match my kitchen. So I was happy.
That
about
will last till
Yeah.
the rest of your life. To go
Totally.
visit her in 40 years.
They will be there.
Do you know what I wrote? What book I wrote this reminds me of?
Let's hear it.
Sarah, you can
What?
guess. Guess which book? The very first one. Let's throw back to the very first book.
Women
Book
Who Run with the
Interrupted.
Wolves?
Women Who Run with the
Wow.
Wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it
like-
like
I
the
could see
fairy
that.
telling type
Yeah,
thing?
like the
Yeah.
allegory myths, the idea of like moral, like no, maybe not morals, but like telling something to learn through a myth or story. So there you go.
Yeah,
Nice.
because this could have been one of the stories within that book.
I
This
think
is the
so.
story of yeah. No, I see that totally. It was written like that too, very like a myth. The
Mhm.
same kind of style. Yeah.
Folklore.
Yeah, folklore. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, and there's a reason that we hold to those things because they carry, for me, I think folklore and stories and myths, the allegories carry meaning, but the stories themselves, the medium of an allegory carries something different than just a straightforward, this is what happened. It kind of, I think as an artist, I tend to look for things that are not always so straightforward and just given to you as information, just like put out there. I tend to look for things that have sort of hidden ideas and hidden meanings, and you have to find them. You have to work to find them. And I felt
what
like,
you find might change depending on who you are and where it's coming
right?
from.
Yeah, or where you're at in your life.
Yeah,
like we
yeah,
talked
yeah.
about.
Definitely,
But
yeah.
The art and the art. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty classic. Like, I think when you're an artist, like you view something, even as an artist that creates, you sometimes view your own art something different. Each time you look at it, each time you're putting your whatever medium you're working with to the paper or canvas or paper, like it changes, right? So I think I read that book too, and it reminds me. I agree, it reminds me of that book. But I also think that there's something about that way of telling story that itself carries history and carries meaning. So it's different than just sort of a straightforward book about this is what happened and this is what happened and this is what happened. Not good or bad, it's just different. And I tend to be drawn to those things because I want to look for that.
Yeah, I like stories that have like an uncomfortable bit in it, right?
Yeah.
Like some people like to read stories that are like this happened and that happened and then there's a happy ending and we all feel good. But that's not usually what I go for, right? Like this happened and why did this happen? Why? And like it seems more realistic and it makes you really think about like finding yourself in the history and how the history made you. It's kind of like that too, the nuance. Or like we've been reading, my daughter got a gift certificate as a gift, and we went to the bookstore and she bought a book of Aesop's fables.
Yeah.
So we're reading through it, and she's reading through these, and they're not all great stories, right? Yeah. Like like we all know like the tortoise and the hare, but there's a lot that's like the ape and the this and the horse and the that. There's also the lion and whatever. And there was one about two travelers, and they go see the Monkey King, and one traveler always tells lies, the one always tells the truth, and the one sees that the Monkey King's there and he's got all his subjects lined up, like he's showing how powerful he is and stuff, and the liar just flatters him like overboard, and then the truth teller's like, oh, and then he gets rewarded, and the truth teller's like, oh, I'm totally gonna be rewarded, and he compliments him as well too, but in a more honest way, and he gets sentenced to be stoned to death. And so she didn't like that one. She was like, but he told the truth. I was like, but he didn't read the room. The Monkey King didn't want the truth. The Monkey King wanted you to stroke his ego. And she's like, what? She's like, but that's not right. I'm like, that's what the fable is. It's not a happy story. It's just something that happens. And it'll happen in your workplace, guaranteed. You will be in a room, and the person that you're talking to, who's in charge, just wants you to tell them how great they are, not what they're doing is going to cause disaster. Like, anyway, I went off on a tangent.
Or in life, or in politics, or in
Right?
Sorry.
Lots
So, like,
of rooms, lots of rooms.
Those kind of truth-telling stories are uncomfortable because we don't want to admit to ourselves that as people that we're also imperfect, that sometimes what we actually want is somebody to tell us how great we are, not give us truthful feedback, So, and
Good life lesson for all of us.
Yes.
read the room.
Oh, come work in
Read
the
the
financial
room.
district of Toronto, and then you'll learn that lesson over and over and over again. So,
Whoa, look how great you are. I am great, thank you.
No.
Here, buy this
Awesome.
expensive
No,
wine.
thank you.
Yeah.
You have wonderful taste in wine. I bet you would really like this expensive
Really like
bottle.
this other one that's more expensive. I'm
Only
just
a
teasing him.
true connoisseur could appreciate this one.
And it's really
You
just
and I would
water.
fail
It's
at
like
that.
the Emperor's clothes or whatever, where it's like,
Yeah.
this is the best. Here you go. And then,
Yeah.
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 That's good.
The Emperor's New Clothes. So funny.
yeah. And it's just water. And you're like, oh, but it's the best. It's like empty. And you're like, can't you taste it? Only the best people can taste this. Oh, it's so good.
A very delicate palate for this one. Very delicate.
Very delicate.
This has a feeling that Lindsay's actually done this. I don't think that it's like, have you done this?
Me? Not quite.
She just fantasizes about it, which
Yeah,
is somebody who's
She
like
wishes
the
she
monkey
does it
king.
every day.
Yeah. I'm a very good salesperson, so I could probably sell that. So if I needed to, but I won't because I appreciate wine too much. So that's what I do for a living. I don't know if you know that, Rian.
Are you sommelier?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and a manager, restaurant manager, but
Nice.
yes. Yeah,
I am none of those things and do not have a palate for wine.
okay. Not everybody has to. I'm not offended.
I'm like, oh, it's juicy and wet.
Seems like it's made of juice.
Grapey. Lots of grapes in this one.
Very grapey.
Yeah.
Somebody told me recently that some cheaper wines, like red wines, have food dye in them. Lindsay, have you heard of this?
Yeah, it's not like the food dye that makes your kids crazy. Food dye.
I need to know because food dye affects my epilepsy. I need to find out more about this.
They'll add like grape juice or whatever, or like darker grape juice. I don't think that there's actual like red number whatever food dye, but I know that there's coloring added, but I thought it was made like from grapes. But that's a good question.
It's a good question. I know. I was like, what? I need to find out about this for brain reason.
Well, give me 2 seconds. You guys talk amongst yourself, and I'll tell you.
Okay, great.
Oh, cool.
We're wrapping up soon, but I wanted to say, this part, did you find the end where she was stuck in that pool? Like, it was like I felt like it was her deciding she wasn't actually stuck in that pool. She could have got out any time.
Oh.
It was her deciding if she was going to choose like facing her life or not, like not knowing what's going to happen when she goes back, but knowing that she needs to go back. What did you guys think about that part?
She was like emotionally trapped. Like she wasn't.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Like she had created her own cage, but she could have gotten out if she wanted to.
Created her own cage. Thank you. Yeah, that's how I felt too. Yeah. You figured it out?
I did. So they do add like they call it mega red or mega purple to like enhance or like put the color, but it's not the same as like a food dye. It's a colorant.
Red, mega purple.
Yeah. Anyways, you can look up more, but it's not like
going down the rabbit hole.
It's not like there you go. Look it up. I know some brands that use it. It just makes it deeper and but yeah, it's usually cheaper wines that are mass marketed, but just because people like that bright colors and stuff. But I'm pretty sure I know they add that, but I don't know. I don't think it's from like the same as what makes you crazy.
like a red dye number
You should
5.
look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we didn't talk about the love interest at all, but I really liked her love interest.
Yeah.
A
Me
lot.
too.
Maybe I'll have to say something on my book report about it.
She was the one that was like, you don't know what it's like not to have memories, your culture, your land. I have nothing. I don't have anything anymore. I just have this place and it's going to be gone soon. Like, I'm the last one. You don't know what it's like to walk away from that. Yeah, I like the love interest for sure.
I also like the end with the love interest. They didn't have, you know what I mean? Like she kind of got everything in the, she chose the hard road and she did get she get things that she wanted in the end too, that she needed. You can have both.
It was happy.
She didn't have to just
Happy.
walk the hard road. She could walk the hard road with people and it wasn't so hard. Yeah, with others.
Yeah, happy ending, which I'm always looking for, unlike Meredith.
Yeah.
Always.
if it
Always.
disturbs me deeply, I'm like, that was a good one.
And I'm like, I don't care how dark it is, as long as the end is happy, I can manage it.
Just tell me it's gonna be a good ending. That's her mom. She goes to the back of the book to find out the ending so she can get through the rest.
I would never do that. That's horrific to me. Don't read the end first.
I love that about her. I love it. She like reads a couple pages and then she reads the end of the book and then she goes back and speed reads through it. Like a book in a day. She's so funny.
Wow.
That's hilarious. Yeah. I think
that's all the time we have today.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, good. It's okay.
I'm
sorry.
But let's do last thoughts. If you want to do last thought, we'll give you the last thought, Rian. Because that's all the time we have for today, actually.
Well,
great book.
I learned that red dye number 5 is not in wine.
Well, I don't think so. Let's double check that. I don't want to be like the sommelier that doesn't know the answer, but I don't really drink a lot of wine with that.
Yeah.
She doesn't drink cheap wine.
No, not buying wine at the grocery store. I think this book just means different things in different times for me, and I really appreciated the difficulties that came forward in this book, but also I think we didn't talk very much about the collective spaces that this book brings forward in the collective thinking, and so I think my last thoughts are I really appreciated that Yetu, the main character, was able to work through the pain in carrying the histories and bring something new out of it and share it with others and bring it forward and share it. So yeah, my last thought. But I did like it.
And let us all do that for ourselves and our families. Remembering our histories.
Yeah. And share that, like having them, if we share them instead of just one person having the burden, it makes it the memory more flushed out, vivid, detailed, right?
Processable.
Cool.
Healthy.
Healthy. Whole, not by one perspective, like a whole real, Okay, well, thanks, Rian, for coming on the show. That was so
Thanks,
great.
Rian. So nice to meet you.
Rian listened to our first episode because she gave us a recommendation like our first month. It's on our website. Yeah, so thank you, Rian, for listening for 5 years.
And many in between as well.
Amazing.
Bye, Rian. Really nice to meet you.
Bye.
If you've enjoyed these video highlights, listen to the full episode on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember to like and subscribe and ring that bell to be notified when new episodes are published. Find out more by going to www.bookinterrupted.com.
Never forget, every child matters.